This is a level 1 and level 2 English writing presentation about how to construct explanatory and persuasive texts, and it can be used alongside other videos showing how to create formal and informal texts and instructive and descriptive texts. The aims of the session: we'll look at features of explanatory and persuasive texts, and also the language and construction of those documents, and then there will be a task where you'll be asked to create a short explanatory and persuasive text to email to me, David Pascoe, at davidp@provista.co.uk. Explanatory texts, they can include official documents, so things like notices from authorities and local councils, and personal documents, letters and emails from friends and family. The tone of an explanatory text is, surprise, surprise, explanatory, because they are there to tell you why something is happening. They're instructive because they should tell you what you might need to do, and they can be reassuring, especially if the text relates to something that will be disruptive to the reader's life. If you're having the gas pipes in the road dug up, you may get messages to let you know that that's going to be happening and how long it will be happening for and when it will be starting from, so that you can plan around it. Explanatory language. So some of the things which are used in explanatory texts include what we would term why we're writing this. So you might get a letter or be asked to write a letter, and it might explain the reason behind why we're writing. The 2019-20 tax year has now ended, so it's time to fill in your tax return and send it to us. From April 2020, we'll be making changes to our services and wanted to let you know how these may affect you. Then it'll go on and talk about action that you need to take. So if you're paying your council tax by instalments, please pay amounts on the following dates. If you've already sent us a tax return for the 2019-20 tax year, you don't need to do anything. So when you're putting an explanatory text together, one of the things to consider is that their explanatory texts are quite similar to instructional texts. The main difference between them is that whereas the instructional text might be laid out in steps and stages, the explanatory text is often written as, a single paragraph or a couple of paragraphs. And because of that, it's important to avoid bogging your text down with unnecessary information. You've got to consider that somebody has to read this, understand it, and act upon it. So you might get a domestic situation in which you have to write a short explanatory text that's set up in an exam. You might, need to let the example below. You might be told, write a short note to a relative to explain that you've had to get some medication for your mother. And just let them know why you had to get it and how they can use it. So we have here the example here. Hi Emma, I've picked up some medication for Mum. She was feeling a little under the weather and a hay fever was flaring up, so I went and got her something for it. I've left it on the counter next to the kettle. See you tomorrow, Cindy. So it's very brief, but very clear and concise. Person reading it will know what's been done and what they can do and where they can get the medication from. This ability to be able to get information across in a concise way in an explanatory text is even more important in a professional context. Explanatory text in a professional situation should outline what you're writing about, why you're writing, and what's going to happen. So here's an example based on an explanatory text sent by a car insurance company. Dear Mr. Smith, you have been a valued customer with Elephant Insurance since 2010. With the current lockdown measures in place, car use across the UK has declined by up to 25%. With this in mind, we would like to offer you either a one-off £25 rebate or the option of a 5% reduction on your monthly insurance payments up to the end of 2020. To take advantage of these offers, please text either rebate or reduction to 07789 65703. Please include your customer number in your text. We will honour your choice within 28 days of receipt of your text. Yours sincerely, Kate Stevens. So this is a great example of a good explanatory text. The first paragraph talks about why they're writing. Due to the lockdown, car use has declined. So as a result, they're going to offer either a rebate or a 5% reduction across the monthly insurance payments up to the end of 2020. And it's all told inside a single 3 sentences in a small paragraph. It then talks about what's going to happen and what the customer needs to do, what they need to text and the number they need to text it to, and also includes additional information. They need to include their customer number in their text. That's done in 2 sentences. And then the final sentence stroke paragraph just talks about what will happen once the customer has texted their choice to Elephant. And I would suggest that if you're having to do an explanatory text in an exam situation, whether it be a personal or a professional one, this is about the size of text that you really need to be producing. Persuasive texts. Now, it's probably unlikely in an exam situation that you're going to have to do a persuasive text, but you never know, because there may be examples which you've had to check in the reading exams. But it's possible one may come up in a writing exam as well. Persuasive text can include advertising, opinion articles, especially political writing, and selling, what I could call selling material. So anything you see which encourages you to sign up to a particular package or cause. I think that the most likeliest persuasive text you might have to read might be an opinion article or something expressing your point of view where you're trying to change people's minds. The tone of persuasive text, they are emotive, they use emotive language to grab the reader. They're focused because they want to sell something or persuade you to a particular way of thinking. They try to make sure that they're very much on the subject only, and they don't want to put in anything that might seem irrelevant or distracting from their central message. They will appeal to readers' tastes and interests, and they will also try to be empathetic. They'll try to persuade by presenting themselves as aware of a reader's wishes or feelings. Some examples of and features of persuasive language: it'll start by making you an offer, and it'll do that in very broad and basic terms. How about an amazing special offer to brighten your days in the weeks ahead? Secure your future with our exclusive offer. So they'll try to link together the positive effects that you will enjoy if you take advantage of this offer. One other thing they'll do to try and persuade you to use them is to make positive comparisons of themselves compared to their competitors. Unlike some high street solicitors, we're not on the clock, so you can call or email as many times as you need. The party has made no commitment to tackling this issue, whereas we have a clear 3-point plan for restoring the local community. So there'll always be that compare and contrast. Compare our great service or our great ideas to our competitors whose service or ideas are not as good as ours. One thing which you'll find in persuasive text is emphasis gets used, particularly in advertising. Persuasive text will often make a feature of emphasizing words. They'll use block capitals, boldening, exclamation marks, as we can see along the top here. Free, special offer, once in a lifetime opportunity. It'll put those in, shouting out at the reader as a way of trying to get their attention. Persuasive text may make bold claims. They may use hyperbole in order to put across how good their product or service is. The longest lasting battery in the world. We fly to more locations than any other airline. It's just ways of being able to make sure that what they sell or offer stands out even more because of how good it is. And then to pick up on the point in the last slide about how persuasive text will try to compare what they do in a more favorable light to their competitors, they'll try and do it in a bit more detail by using data and figures to back it up. Unlike other law firms, Sanderson's isn't charging you by the hour, or most adhesives have a shelf life of less than 10 years, but No Nails glue is the only glue guaranteed to still be holding firm after 10 years. If they're trying to change minds or behavior rather than sell you a service, one way in which they'll try to do that is by demonstrating the results of what can happen if you use that service or product. Our policies could save you up to £300 a year on your energy bills. Or taking half an hour's exercise a day, 5 times a week, can help to improve your body mass index, BMI, by up to 400 calories a week. So it uses statistics and evidence to be able to offer a clear choice to persuade the reader to sign up to that service or product. Often in persuasive text where they're trying to change minds or get you to support something, they'll do it by appealing to your conscience or beliefs, your sense of fairness, your sense of justice, your sense of charity, your concern for other people, your concern for family and friends or your future. All of those are being used in some of these phrases, in some of these examples we have here. Without a major cash injection, Finchley's homeless shelter is at risk of closing by the end of the year. However, local residents can help if prepared to donate as little as £5 towards the hostel's upkeep. So it presents this gloomy possibility about the shelter closing, but shows that, you know, if you're prepared to donate as little as £5, only £5, you can make a difference. Under this party, unemployment has risen and social mobility is at its most restricted in over 80 years. Anyone believing in providing for their family and their future can see that it's time for new ideas and new leadership. So this is an interesting one because it's not just using a criticism of a party for what it hasn't done or the negative effect that it's had. It's trying to reinforce the message to support the new party by levelling at the reader. Anyone believing in providing for their family and their future can see that it's time for new ideas and new leadership. It's almost an implicit way of saying to the reader, you believe in providing for your family, you believe in planning for your future. So if you're going to do that and that really matters to you, support our party rather than the other one. So I'd like you now to create one explanatory and one persuasive piece of text. For the explanatory text, I'd like you to write a letter to local residents to explain that the police will be making house-to-house calls over the coming month to take witness statements due to a spate of thefts across your part of town recently. Explain that officers will call between 10 AM and 7 PM and that the meetings will be about 15 minutes long. Include the date and write the document and the sender's address. Include the date that you write the document on, rather, and include the sender's address, which is Community Engagement Unit, Metropolitan Police, N17JH. I'd say for this one, yes, with the addresses, just include the address you're writing from this one. If you can make up an address that you're sending to just for the example that you're providing, that would be good as well. For the persuasive text, you've been asked to write a customer testimonial in support of a product that you've bought or company that you've engaged with. The product can be whatever you would like, so car, clothing, computer, bedding, food, child's product. Include mentions about why you needed the product and how good it has been, and also include a recommendation for the company that you shopped with. Now again, in the exam situations, you'll just be given the scenario. You might not be given evidence like this or pointers like this. So these are all things just to consider, depending on what type of document you're asked to produce. This is just an example of what a customer testimonial looks like. So something like this is kind of what you're working towards to try and produce this persuasive text, because that's something which customers will also try to persuade, companies will try to persuade people with by citing evidence from satisfied customers. So this is just an example of the testimonial. We moved into our house 7 years ago. It was originally built in 1810, and a lot of the house hadn't been renovated since then, we think. We worked on the house, but left the windows as they were such a feature of the house's design. Unfortunately, they were single glazed, and during cold winters or heavy storms, they could leak, and we were paying a fortune in heating bills. We contacted Adelphi Windows about installing double glazing. They came out to visit us and showed us designs which would complement the look of the house. The installation was quick and non-disruptive for a very good price. The new windows look tremendous, and the house is so much warmer in the winter. Adelphi did a great job for us, and we would recommend them without hesitation. So you can see how this has been done. It's set up the reason and the need why the customers went to use that product in the first paragraph. And then the second paragraph talks about how good the company was, the things that it did, you know, how it assisted with the job, that it, you know, was put in at a decent price, and includes the recommendation to other people as well. As before, please email your completed work to davidp@prevista.co.uk, or you can upload it to Apton.